All right, so you should have a book of quadrilaterals flip book. Now we're going over this because first we need to recall but also learn a few things in regards to quadrilaterals and their special types. Because next class we're going to talk about proving quadrilaterals using two-column proofs, statements and reasons. So first we need to familiarize the properties of each before we can continue to two-column proofs. So if you open up the first flap, which I know is empty, but I want you to write some things. So under the quadrilateral family tree, if you look above, I want you to write down, okay, a quad means 4. So therefore quadrilateral, that is still 4, but 4 sides, a 4-sided polygon. So you're gonna write that down. Now, I want you to watch this 4-minute video. It's a great intro to the lesson. I shortened it. It is bit.ly/intro parallelograms. All one word, no spaces, lowercase. Make sure you add the S. Okay, so watch that please first, 4 minutes of your life, and then we'll talk about parallelograms. All right, so if we go to parallelograms, first off, I'm sorry it's cut off, but I had to do an impromptu. All right, so parallelograms is a quadrilateral in which opposite sides are parallel. Well, that's convenient, okay. Also, based on watching the video, they also said, okay, opposite sides are parallel, hence parallelogram. So that means opposite sides are parallel to each other. It proceeds to say opposite sides are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent or equal measure. So that means opposite sides are congruent, same measure. Okay? In case you can't see it, same measure. Okay? Now, opposite angles are also congruent or equal. Okay, so we'll label this. I'm going to call this A, B, C, D. Okay, so opposite of angle A is C. So A and C are opposite, therefore they are congruent. Opposite of D is B. So D and B would be the same measure as well. Now it says next that consecutive angles, remember consecutive angles, remember as a note, remember same side, okay, they are supplementary, where they add up to equal 180. So remember, you'd have parallel lines. They'd be on the same side of the transversal, same side, interior. So if I look at this, let's say we call this angle 100 degrees. Well, opposite of A is C, and opposite angles are congruent, so that's also 100. And then let's say that angle CDB is 30. And they want us to find this missing angle. Well, consecutive angles are supplementary. So if I look at it, cover this up, they are next to each other at the same side of a transversal. They add to 180. Well, 180 minus 100 is 80. 80 minus 30 is 50. And I can double check to make sure, do all 3 angles add up to 180? And they do. Now, remember, we have parallel lines, so we're going to have alternating interior angles. So opposite the other side on angle B is 30. Opposite of 50 to the other side is 50, like that. Alternate interior angles, okay? Then lastly, they talk about diagonals, and diagonals bisect each other. Remembering bisect means to cut into two equal parts. So if I look at diagonal AC, which is bisecting with BD, well, therefore, we'll call this point P in the center. AP and CP are equal because they were cut in half. DP and BP were also cut in half. So for example, let's say AC was 20. If AC was 20 and I asked you, okay, well then what's AP? If AC is 20, what's AP? Well, knowing that they're bisected in half, half of 20 gives me 10. 10 and 10 give me the 20, okay? This is going back to vocab. We've got to remember these vocabulary terms or else it's understanding why we're getting lost. So, now, let's look at some examples of parallelograms. It says, if ABCD is a parallelogram, okay, so I should probably draw a picture first. I'm going to draw a picture. And it says A, B, C, D. If angle A is x degrees and angle D is 2x minus 3 degrees, find x. Well, I see, well, this is a parallelogram. So I can recall consecutive angles are supplementary because they are next to each other, same side of the transversal. So I would have x, one angle, plus 2x minus 3, the other angle, should add up to equal 180 because it's consecutive. Same side interior, same sides supplementary, which adds to equal 180. Combine like terms, move 3 to the other side, divide. You would then get 3x minus 3 equals 180. Two-step equation, we'd find that x equals 61. And that's it. Now let's look at example 2. Example 2 says, okay, x, y, z, w is the parallelogram. All right, I'll draw another picture. X, Y, Z, W. With diagonals, X, Z, so we're looking at our diagonals that intersect, they intersect at point A. So notice I'm just reading it part for part. I don't read the whole thing. I drew a parallelogram, I then drew diagonals, I then drew the point A where they intersect. It now says, okay, XA is 3M and ZA is 5M minus 4. Well, if I recall, back up here, diagonals bisect each other. So if they lie on the same line, XZ, they're bisected into two equal parts. Two equal parts. So I'm going to set them equal to each other. Doesn't matter which one goes first. We're still getting the variable by itself. So I would choose to subtract 5m. 3 minus 5 is negative 2m. Bring down your negative 4. Apologize, you can't see. There you go. All right, divide by negative 2 on both sides. Negative and a negative make a positive, so m equals 2. Okay, now let's look at number 3. Number 3, I see angles, and if I look up top, they said opposite angles are congruent. So if I look at 3, okay, well, opposite of 120 is z, so I know z is 120 degrees because they're opposite each other. They should be congruent, equal. And then I see that 35 Remember, alternate interior angles are congruent. So that means y is 35 degrees. And then I'm going to show you a trick. I'm going to first label what we found. Now there's two ways you could think about this. One is I see if I cover this up, it kind of looks like our example up here with 100, 50, and 30. If I look here, I have 120, 35, and x. They are consecutive, same side, so they add, all of them add to 180. Combine like terms, I get 155. Subtract 155 on both sides, x equals 25. So that's thinking about consecutive. Now I can also say, well, I have triangles. If I found y to be 35, z to be 120, I can find my third angle. It is called the triangle sum theorem. Remember, we're all angles in every triangle, all three angles or all parts of the angles will add up to 180. So you could also think of it as, okay, I have x plus 120 plus 35 add up to equal the degrees in a triangle, 180. Notice I'll still get 155, subtract, and get 25 as well. So these are two different ways to think about finding it, to find x. All right, so I'm gonna stop there, and next I want you to watch the video about rectangles, rhombus, plural is rhombi, and squares. So next, I'm gonna have you go to that link, which should be either on the board or I will have it in the next video that will cover trapezoids. So again, finish parallelograms. You're gonna watch the video about the next three. If the link isn't up on the board, on my other video that goes over trapezoids, I'll have that up there for you too.